Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today is the 30th of May 2024. The month of May is coming to an end, but we've got lots to discuss with you. So without further ado, let's begin with our first segment, that is going to be the space initiative and Pakistan launching another satellite. Now, the Pakistan Space and Upper Atmosphere Research Commission has launched a new satellite, the paksat MM1, today from the Xichang Satellite Launch Center in China. The project management team of the satellite had finalized all the arrangements before the launch of the satellite, and of course it has been conceived keeping in view the growing needs of the country as far as the broad spectrum of communication and connectivity is concerned. But that's not the only avenue when it comes to space technology. Pakistan has endeavored a lot since the beginning of Suparco in 1961, and it has come a long way now in 2024. We'll be highlighting the different aspects of that, of course, keeping in view and in context the launch of the satellite today in our first segment. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Indian brutalities in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. APHC spokesperson says New Delhi is using raids, coordinate search operations, arrests, seizure of properties and other measures to silence the legitimate political voices in the occupied territory. But there is nothing new there when it comes to this. We've been highlighting and discussing this for years now, at least since my program is on air. I've been highlighting this, and there's no change as far as the Indian belligerent attitude towards the Kashmiris is concerned. Also, the All Parties Hurriyat Conference convener Mehmood strongly condemns Indian Home Minister Amit Shah's statement that has intimidated and terrorized the Kashmiri people of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, saying that the Kashmiris have the inalienable right to pursue their careers and seek jobs in the public and the private sector, and that India as an occupier has no authority to deprive them of their rights. This is going to be our second story. Then we are going to talk about Japan, that has launched the world's first wooden satellite. Would you have ever imagined that a satellite could be wooden at one point in time? It is now. Now, this satellite has been built by Japanese researchers who say that tiny cuboid craft would be blasted aboard a SpaceX craft in September this year. It measures just 10 centimeters, 4 inches. It's a small little thing. Anyways, our last story is going to be the 2,000-year-old children's drawing that has been found in the ancient Roman city of Pompeii near the city of Naples. And of course, this has been discovered during archaeological finds, and it shows children as young as 6 years old depicting possibly violent fights that they might have witnessed. This is going to be our last story. Let's begin with our first, and this concerns Pakistan's space initiative that began way back in 1961 with the launching of Suparco, and we are now in 2024. A lot has happened for Pakistan's benefit, and we've seen, of course, the launching of the first lunar orbit mission IQQ on the 3rd of May, and now today there has been the launch of the paksat MM1 from a Chinese space satellite launch center in Xichang. We've been joined by many guests to talk about that, and it's my privilege to have them on board. In the studios, we've been joined by Mr. Salim Mehmood. He is no stranger to the space technology and the space endeavors that Pakistan has undergone since the 1960s. He's a former chairman of Suparco. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us. And of course, we also will be joined by Wu Li, space reporter from CGTN in China, as it is a China-Pakistan initiative. So, of course, Wu has to be there. Wu, thank you very much to have joined us. And then finally, we'll be joined by Dr. Imtinan Qazi. He's the director of Suparco, current director of Suparco. We'll begin with our Chinese counterpart, and then I'll move in with our eminent guest, who is a senior and, of course, one who has been behind this whole project that we now are seeing the benefits of. Wu, thank you very much to have joined us. Wu, I'd like to understand two things. What has been China's role as far as Pakistan's space initiatives is concerned? And, we saw the IQQ earlier this month. Now it's paksat M1. This collaboration as far as space technology is concerned, how lucrative is it for both countries?
Well, firstly, let's congratulate to all Pakistani and Chinese scientists, engineers, and colleagues who have devoted their efforts in this successful launch. This paksat MM1 satellite is seen as a new milestone in space collaboration between Pakistan and China. A paksat MM1 satellite will provide various communication services, including broadband internet, TV broadcasting, telecommunication, and more in Pakistan. And this is the third full satellite cooperation project between the China Great Wall Industry Corporation and Pakistan Space and Upper Atmosphere Research Commission. So we know that over the past decades, China and Pakistan has worked almost in three satellite projects, from communication satellites to remote sensing satellites. So as you mentioned earlier this month in May, a CubeSat satellite, IQQ, co-developed by China and Pakistan, has also been sent into a lunar orbit alongside the Chang'e 6 probe. The CubeSat satellite has already taken some very beautiful pictures of the moon. So we can see over the past decades, Pakistan and China has worked closely in communication and remote sensing satellites, and also now moved into these lunar programs. So we can see that people are very excited on the collaboration, the growing collaboration between China and Pakistan in the space sector.
All right, what should we expect from China as far as collaborating with Pakistan in the future is concerned? Are there some projects in the anvil? Can you talk about something? And also I'd like to understand what is the basic sentiment within the Chinese scientific community as far as these collaborations are concerned?
Okay, I just want to mention that last October, Pakistan has already signed agreement with China on the International Lunar Research Station, which is a very huge project on the south pole of the moon. China will work alongside with international partners to build an international lunar research station on the moon in the future. So in the future, we can expect that China and Pakistan work closely on the lunar programs. And as you mentioned that in the future, China will also work on the human space flight missions, because we know about 400 kilometers away from the Earth, China's Tiangong space station is now orbiting, and China's human space flight programs is also open to the whole world. Any partners, any scientist or astronaut who is interested in this human space flight can work along with Chinese scientists. And also, China will also have the Mars sample return mission in the next few years. So we can expect it from human space flight to lunar mission and also Mars mission. We can expect more collaboration between China and Pakistan and other partners.
Thank you very much to have joined us all the way from China. Wu Li, space reporter from CGTN, giving us the updates from the Chinese perspective as far as this launch of the paksat MM1 satellite is concerned. Let's come back to our veteran as far as Pakistan's space technology is concerned, Salim Mehmood Saab. My first question would be, you were there when Suparco was launched in the 1960s. Today we are in 2024 and there is another launch on this very day as far as the Pakistani satellite is concerned. Are you as enthusiastic today as you were in the 1960s when Suparco was launched?
Well, I should say that I'm even more enthusiastic. Space by definition is so vast that it does bring in the curiosity in you. That curiosity should never die. And I must say that thinking about this almost infinite universe, nobody's sure that it's finite. It still looks like infinite.
It's true.
It's very fascinating to go into space research and space technology. So I'm very enthusiastic, no doubt about it.
This satellite paksat MM1, how important is it for Pakistan, for its e-commerce, for its communication, and so many other ventures that it could involve in?
Well, I must emphasize in the very beginning, this is our second communication satellite, communication under broad category, paksat. A communication satellite is a must for a country like Pakistan. It's a must. It's not a luxury. And by the launch of this paksat MM1 multi-mission satellite, it has added a new dimension in communication satellite categories. We put the general category of communication, but the fact of the matter is that nothing that you would like to have in a space platform by way of support for communications, for internet, all your digital IT business, you have put those things in this satellite. It has a very powerful payload, and amazingly, I would like to tell you that it covers a very broad set of frequencies, spot frequencies, covering from as low as L band, say 1 to 2 gigahertz, to going up to as much as 40 gigahertz, 40,000 megahertz.
All right.
Extremely short wavelengths.
Oh.
We're talking of 1 to 1.5 centimeter. And that these particular transmitters that you have, by virtue of their extremely high speed, very high frequency, are capable of transmitting very high speed data. From the low end of 1 to 2 gigahertz to 40
All right.
gigahertz.
How
So
does it help communication?
I would say it would revolutionize communications, not help but revolutionize. As I said before, this is the platform pushed up in space, always there for you to communicate, moving along the Earth rotation, synchronized with it, always visible to you, and it is giving you all kinds of IT support, communication facilities. Like, for example, you have broadband internet. You have communication between small VSAT on the move, VSATs, very small aperture terminals. You can send data from point A, for example, news gathering, from point A anywhere in your country to your studios here or to any other point. You have a mobile banking, for example, and you want to bring all the data to some central office, well, you can do that.
All right.
So it's leaving to imagination only. You can put buoys in the ocean, and you can collect data from those buoys far away.
So the examples and the way this satellite can be used is limitless. You know, it's the way you can use it, and the opportunities that can be utilized through this satellite are also manifold.
It is imagination is the only limit here.
All right.
It's
Wonderful.
such a wonderful satellite.
Wonderful.
I must commend the effort of Suparco engineers
All right.
who thought of such a multi-capability
All right.
satellite.
Wonderful.
There's nothing which it doesn't have.
All right. So we'll talk more about that also with Dr. Imtinan Qazi. He's a current director at Suparco. Dr. Saab, first of all, congratulations to you and the entire team on the launch of paksat MM1 satellite. How is the basic sentiment amongst your team members and all those who are behind this project now that it has finally launched? Also, I'd like to understand the importance of this satellite for Pakistan.
First of all, thank you very much for having me and to let me express my views and my happiness as well as being part of the Suparco family who have brought this dream to life. Yes, if you talk about the sentiment of the Suparco team, you can say we are over the moon. Literally, we are over the moon. I hope you can understand what I'm saying.
Dr. Saab, I'm really sorry we have to cut to a short break. We'll be right back and we'll continue this conversation. Stay tuned right here to PTV World. Welcome back, and of course we are discussing the launch of paksat MM1. We have online with us Dr. Imtinan Qazi, he's Director Suparco. Dr. Imtinan, we were talking before we went to a break about the importance of paksat MM1, and of course the whole sentiment, the excitement that has been there amongst your team before the launch, pre-launch, and of course now that it has launched, you must have heaved a sigh of relief.
Thank you very much, Omar. Thank you very much for having me. And once again, yeah, you are very right. Basically, about the sentiment of the Suparco family, you just have to believe that we are really excited because of having a satellite which is equipped with, you can say, all the cutting edge technologies that could be imagined in the communication in satellite communication systems. Having multiple functions for various applications in socio-economic development as well as the national security domain. You can say this is the kind of work that any scientist or engineer normally dream of for accomplishing during his tenure or lifetime. So definitely the sentiment is very high. The excitement runs really through the veins right now. It's running very high. Secondly, the importance of the satellite, when you ask, it is something that has been waited for quite long now, because first communication satellite that Suparco launched was in 2011, in August 2011, when we launched paksat 1R, which was equipped with two different frequency bands transponders, C band and KU band. C-band, as you understand, is normally used for the TV broadcasts, having about a good size dish antennas for which you normally see on the DSNGs for communication purposes. So as you move along, before me, Mr. Salim, Mehmood was talking about the frequency bands and its efficiency and the throughput of different frequency bands. As you move in the higher frequencies, like in the KU band, you get smaller antennas and easier communication and higher data rates. With paksat MM1, we have stepped further ahead in KA band as well, which is basically high throughput system, the highest commercially available frequency for high throughput systems. You can imagine having very high data rates and very high communication, very high data rate and very highly efficient communication systems working across Pakistan in the far-flung areas where you do not have the fiber connectivity, where you do not have the terrestrial connectivity of the cellular phones, where you do not have any kind of access, and there this satellite communication would be enabling people to connect with other people as well as with the institutions. So in a nutshell, this is something really to celebrate about.
All right, and congratulations again to you and the entire Suparco team. We've got a veteran of Suparco with us in the studios as well, Salim Mehmood Saab. So, of course, I have also extended the congratulations to him. And inshallah, we'll be talking to you in much more detail about Pakistan's space technology and what Pakistan is endeavoring in that field. In the meantime, thank you so very much to have joined us, Dr. Imtinan, Qazi, Director, Suparco. Finally, let's come back to you, Salim Saab. Salim Saab, you talked a little bit about how a satellite like the MM1 could help reach people in areas where it was not possible before. But another avenue is also e-commerce, economic commerce, economic governance, tele-education, e-health, telemedicine, and there are endless possibilities. How important do you feel the launch of this satellite is for digital Pakistan?
Well, it will play a pivotal role in launching digital Pakistan, because as it has just now been said, by virtue of the fact that the carrier frequencies are extremely high, although we take care of those drawbacks of high carrier frequencies, the data rates are extremely high. And that you will be in a position to do whatever would be the need to promote digital technology in the country. For example, you could even join computers together, you can join any terminals together. You don't need any terrestrial communication network. As you said yourself, there will be telemedicine from locations where there are no terrestrial communication system at all. You could go to an area which is under heavy floods, under fire, under any catastrophe, and you go there and put your terminal there, and such a multifarious capability satellite, you can start communications immediately. You want to promote a high-speed internet, you want to promote voice communication, you want to promote video communications, you can do all this with this particular satellite. And as I said, not only that you can have big terminals for communication and so on. You could also have small terminals like VSATs, which will allow you to set up your communications instantaneously. You can go there and start working in an area which requires immediate assistance. And your question that how does it help digital technology in this country? By virtue of the fact that this has extremely high frequencies it's operating, like in KU band, like even KA band, they are very high frequency carriers and they can carry very high speed data. And that in digital communications, digital data transmissions, in digitalization of your entire economy, they will be the key factor because it's a sentinel in space that allow you to connect from point A to point B, from location which is in a remote area. You are sitting in Balochistan, a country which is so vast, in areas where there are not very many rudimentary facilities for terrestrial communications. You go and set up your instantaneous communication. So I would say
possibilities are limitless.
Absolutely, it's a kind of question of thinking. But the satellite which has now been launched, this multi-mission satellite, allows you to give all the latitude to your thinking, which will be aimed at enhancing digital technology revolution in the country.
On that note, we end this segment. Thank you very much, Salim Saab, to have come all the way. I know it's not easy, but to have participated in this very important launch day for Parks at MM1, I don't think we could have had anyone better than yourself, somebody who has been there from the very inception of Suparco to this day when we launch our second communication satellite. Thank you very much, sir, to have joined us.
Thank you.
Kindly stay with us, sir. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Indian atrocities that have been going on in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The number of rapes, murders, incarcerations has only increased with time. And of course, as you can see as well, this has not ended. And with the BJP taking power in since the last about more or less 10 years, we are seeing more of such happenings in the Indian held valley, and also a very despicable state as far as the Muslims are concerned, whether they be the Muslims of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir or Muslims within India. Now, APHC spokesperson has recently said that New Delhi is using raids, coordinated search operations, arrest, seizure of properties and other measures to silence the legitimate political voices in the occupied territory. He has also said that the Indian government is using its dreaded probe agencies like the National Investigation Agency, the State Investigation Agency as weapons to implicate the Kashmiris in false cases to silence their voice for freedom. Also, a strong condemnation has come against the Indian Home Minister Amit Shah's statement that has been used to intimidate and terrorize the Kashmiri people of the Indian held valley. It has been said in a statement that Kashmiris do have the inalienable right to pursue their careers and seek jobs in the public or private sector, and this is what Amit Shah was referring to in his statement. We have been joined by two guests to discuss the Indian brutalities in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. I think we can talk about for hours as far as this is concerned, because if we go in the historical perspective, the current state of affairs, but we are short of time, so I'll try to gather as much information as possible in this time. We've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. On my very right is Zaffar Quraishi. You're a Kashmiri leader. Zaffar Saab, thank you very much to have joined us on PTV World. Our second guest is no stranger, Dr. Mujahid Gilani. You're also Kashmiri, and we've talked many a times about the situation in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as far as you are concerned. Now, let's begin with you, Zaffar Saab. Zaffar Saab, you have been part of a family, still a part of a family that has always contributed towards the inalienable right to self-determination for the Kashmiri people. But of late, we see more and more of persecution happening in the Indian held valley. We see more and more incarcerations, murders, and all kinds of tactics that could be used to silence the voice of the Kashmiri people. Has that worked in India's favor?
Firstly, thank you to the PTV World for giving me an opportunity to present some of the views of the Indian-occupied Kashmir, and most importantly, I want to congratulate Pakistan and the people of Pakistan for a successful launch of the very sophisticated communication satellite today. So it was really well done achievement. As a Indian-occupied Kashmiri, I feel proud to, alhamdulillah, know that we are actually now in a space race. So it's a great news. As I said, these tactics have been used by India for long, not just the last 35, 40 years. Well before that, since 1947, various of these tactics have been used in 65, in 50s, in 70s to suppress the movement for the right of self-determination in the Indian-occupied Kashmir. And alhamdulillah, where there's a will, there's a way. The people of Kashmir have always found a way to overcome these oppressions, suppressions, subjugations, or human rights violations that are taking place that India is committing. Indeed, what we have seen is throughout the history, it initially started with, less forceful human rights violations, suppressions, but now these are going. And what can be seen is that India is losing a grip on its Kashmir. It's running out of tactics. It goes is, "Doobta hua aadmi kisi patte ka bhi sahara le jata hai." And India is using that tactic at the moment because it has come to a realization that while it can try to occupy the land physically using over 1 million armed forces, right? It can shut our mouths, not silence our voices. Our political elite, like Yasin Malik Saab, Asya Indrabi, Masrat Alam Saab, and so many other political leaders, Khurram Parvez Saab, who were one of the key voices of the Kashmir freedom struggle, have been imprisoned just to make sure those voices do not come out of the valley, or our media has been suppressed, internet has been censored. But still, India has failed to win the hearts of the people of the Kashmir, and that's where the core really lies. Any struggle, any freedom struggle, it isn't won by just weapons or communication or economy, it's won by the willpower, and that willpower, that hope still resides, and it is increasing day by day. Although what we see on the international side is we don't hear anything coming out from Kashmir, it isn't because the people of Kashmir have given up. No. The people of Kashmir are still determined to get that right of self-determination, to get the freedom from the illegal occupation. But unfortunately, our mouths have been locked. We have been physically imprisoned, right? Our communication is blocked and censored. These tactics, no matter how much India tries to do that, whether it's the Modi government or the government before that, which was the National Congress, the policy has always been the same. Their messaging has been different, their ways have been different, but it's always been the same. India has always been a fascist country that's always tried to occupy the Kashmiri land irrespective of what we want. The promises that they made in the United Nations, they haven't fulfilled that, right? But alhamdulillah, you see, this banning of Jamaat Islami, it's not the first time they did it. They did it in the 1970s as well. But yet, they came back again. We will come back again, no matter how much the suppression is, no matter how many human rights violations they commit. The people of Kashmir still stay strong in terms of making sure that our inalienable right of self-determination is given to us.
Wonderful. Mujahid Gilani Saab, in a recent statement in Srinagar, the APHC spokesperson says that New Delhi is using raids, cordon and search operations, arrests, seizure of properties, and all other measures possible to silence the legitimate political voices, like using the National Investigation Agency and the State Investigation Agency also as weapons. Do you see this ending anytime soon? When will we see the people of the Indian held valley getting justice or their right to self-determination?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Thank you for taking me. And this is a very relevant question, particularly in context of if I mention my Khala, Sayyida Asya Andrabi, since her house has been confiscated as well. You see, we Kashmiris living on the ground are facing it almost on a daily basis. And it's not just our houses, it's not just the lands, it's in fact anything that we can essentially call as something of our very own. And that can include our crops as well. That includes most of important above all, it's our freedom. It's our right to freedom of speech. It's our right of freedom that includes our religion. It's essentially everything that a Kashmiri on the ground has. So I'll be very honest about it, because what we demand is freedom from India. the right to self-determination. And if we expect justice within the Indian Dominion, within the Indian Constitution, I believe it's quite preposterous. And that's what a Kashmiri on the ground has, a very clear vision that whatever justice, that whatever a Kashmiri wants cannot happen, cannot be achieved within the Indian occupation or inside the Indian Dominion. So as far as Kashmiris are concerned, as far as all these tactics, heinous crimes are concerned, all these organized war crimes are concerned, I believe Kashmiris will only get rid of them once they're free from the Indian clutches.
All right. Zaffar Sahab, your family, as I said in the very beginning, has been involved for the rights of the Kashmiri people, whether it be your grandfather in the Rai Shumari movement, who was subsequently, of course, imprisoned by the Indian government, your father, who has been a prominent founding member of the Jammu and Kashmir Freedom Movement, and yourself. Since 2015, you've been serving as the head of the Kashmir Campaign Global, and of course, you have extremely committed, as I read everywhere, to social justice, human rights, in the pursuit of self-determination for the people of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. You have gone to different international fora, and that becomes very interesting, like the United Nations, the European Parliament, the British Parliament, both the House of Lords and the Commons, Danish Parliament, and numerous other fora and avenues where you have advocated the cause of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. I haven't yet seen any tangible action taken. There are a lot of statements that come out for the people, but no tangible action is taken. How can these fora, in your point of view, be persuaded to translate all the statements, the words that we've been hearing since many, many years into action?
That is a very, very relevant question, and unfortunately, this is something that is a long struggle. I think the first thing we need to really do is understand the Kashmir issue itself. And what its different aspects are, and what the implications and impact are across the world. I think what we have really failed to do at the moment is translate its impact and make it relevant to the external world. Issue. While it impacts all the 5 provinces and the 3 major stakeholders within South Asia, which is a direct impact, everybody understands that. But what's not understood, or what isn't getting through to the international stakeholders, the big massive powers that we're talking about, whether that's the United Kingdom, who actually initiated this whole thing back in 1947 and made a promise to the people of the world. Right? I think what we need to do is work towards making them understand what the global impact of the Kashmir issue is. The Kashmir issue, or the, is compromised at 3 different levels. You got the Kashmir crisis right at the bottom, which are very evident, happen almost every hour. Over 1,000 human rights violations happen every day in Indian occupied Kashmir. Then you got the Kashmir conflict, which is now taking a toll. Over 1 million armed forces, backed by draconian laws like AFSFA, PSA. This is directly impacting the people of Kashmir. Whereas the Kashmir issue, which impacts the whole of Kashmir, all the 5 areas, Jammu, Kashmir, Azad Kashmir, Gilgit-Baltistan, it has a wider implication, because what you have is 3 stakeholders, not just 2, not just India and Pakistan. You've also got interest for the China as well, all of them being a nuclear powerful countries. Anything that triggers a war, it is going to be a global war. It's not just going to involve these 3 countries, it will impact the whole world. And I think what we need, where we're sort of failing, is trying to get that message to the international community. At the moment, all we're focusing is on human rights. Let's be honest, when it comes to Britain, it's miles and thousands of miles away. For them, the human rights in Kashmir is the same as human rights violations happening in somewhere else. So it's a similar priority. And if we want to make this as priorities, 3 things which I think we will need to focus on that are happening. We really need to be good with our diplomatic and lobbying on the international level. Yes, we have sent lots and lots of our diplomats. There's a lot of work done by the Pakistani High Commissions or the ministers who come out, but I think we need to be a bit more focused and a bit more target oriented. Is what is the message we want to give them? How do we make sure we actually understand? And the key is making sure that Pakistan plays a vital role in the international policy. The international geopolitics, I think Pakistan has always been one of the key players, especially when it comes to South Asia. When you look at the broader geopolitics, Russia and so forth, we seem to be losing that grip. And unless we get back to that level where we were, in the international geopolitics, the issue of Kashmir is not going to be taken seriously.
But
by the
herein
international
comes
community.
the role of persons like you and organizations like yours
Absolutely.
in order to further push this issue that has been in the United Nations since decades. Final question to you, Mujahid Gilani Saab, the Modi regime, which also is led by the nexus of Rashtriya Swayam, Sevak Sangh and Bharatiya Janata Party, treats Kashmir, Indian illegally occupied Jammu Kashmir, as its colony and the Kashmiri people as its slaves. Is the world, I mean, I'm just extending what I just asked my eminent guest, is the world aware of the way Modi and his current government are treating the Kashmiris?
I'll be giving you a very particular example, Omar, about it, and being a doctor, being from the medical field, I've had several researches and publications I've witnessed, particularly on the PubMed even, that mentioned how a Kashmiri on the ground is facing several mental health conditions, and those mental health conditions are essentially linked to how the Indian occupation works. The Indian occupation uses different tactics. It's a carrot and stick model, what we have seen in these elections, particularly right now going on in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir for the Lok Sabha. We have seen that India had essentially given a free hand to the PDP government, to the PDP party, to the Sheikh family as well as the other political parties, so that they can field their candidates, and somehow they could just deviate the Kashmiris from their main destination, that is the right to self-determination. But what we understand from the youth, the people living on the ground, it's very clear. The people have categorically rejected these elections as a replacement or as a substitute to the right of self-determination. So you see, on the ground the people are very clear. They know that they are not a colony of Indian dominion, but all the same we also understand that India tries to present the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir as an integral part of Indian dominion.
And I think that is something that we at PTV World have tried to highlight time and again to make the world realize the reality of what people are going through in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Zaffar Quraishi Saab, Dr. Mujahid Gilani, thank you very much to the both of you to have come all the way and to have discussed these brutalities, and of course especially thank you to you, Zaffar Quraishi Saab. Let's come to our last two stories very, very quickly. The first is about Japan, that is going to launch the world's first wooden satellite, which will be blasted off a SpaceX rocket in the month of September this year. This has been developed by scientists at Kyoto University and logging company Sumitomo Forestry, that is, and of course it measures just 10 centimeters or 4 inches, just a small little thing. The creators expect the wooden material will burn up completely when the device re-enters the atmosphere, potentially providing a way to avoid the generation of metal particles when the retired satellite returns to Earth. Finally, a 2,000-year-old children's drawing has been found in Pompeii, in the city of Naples. Children as young as 6 years old, whose paintings have been discovered depicting possibly violent fights that they might have witnessed, you know, as far as the sketches of gladiator stick figures are concerned, that were discovered during these excavations in the recent months in Pompeii. This of course unearths a lot of new discoveries as far as what life used to be 2000 years ago and what children used to witness also 2000 years ago. Well, we will of course be unearthing more and more as the programs come along, but for tonight it's the end. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories and segments that pertain to us. You in Pakistan, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.